Welcome to the Artella podcast, where we work to accelerate your creative endeavors by sharing others' stories, experiences, and tips that they've learned along the way. Today's podcast is with Ginny Harder. Ginny is a character designer and concept artist in video games and has been working at several studios such as Good Game Studios and Studio Gobo. She recently finished her short film, Being Good, on Artella, and we're excited to have her share her journey with you, not only focusing on the personal aspects of being a first-time director, but also taking her project and pitching it to studios, in this case Netflix. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. So by day, you're a professional character designer and concept artist, currently working at Studio Gobo. Can you tell us a little bit about what your workday is like as a development artist?
So as a concept artist, the stuff I do daily is just mainly like developing characters and worlds, and at Gobo we're quite a small team, so we're just two concept artists, and it's quite cool because you get like a really generalistic approach on like doing everything, like a bit of characters, a bit of world stuff, storyboards if necessary, even marketing. And I really like it because it's quite interesting to try out everything and different styles as well. So we worked on Disney Infinity as well as like a new unannounced project, and it can vary a lot in like what kind of style you do, and that's super exciting.
Have you had an opportunity to direct or lead anything?
Well, I'm talking to my boss about that right now, so I'm considering going more into the direction of like taking over like a side project, or like seeing if I can help with direction at some point, but this is very much under discussion right now, and I think they're quite excited to see what I have done with the short film. They see that I could potentially do that at work as well, and yeah, it would be cool to get that started here as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, the reason I ask is because you just finished up directing your own personal project, Being Good, which is awesome. I had an opportunity to see it at CTN, and it was just amazing. So I was just curious if was that your first thing that you've ever directed then officially?
Oh God, yes. That wasn't initially the plan when I started it. It was just this fun thing at the beginning, just something I always wanted to do, and somehow it grew so big and it just got better and better, and I really learned to love what I was doing, and came to a point where I realized that I really liked directing and it was really fun, and I was sharing that with everyone as well, with my friends and at work. And I think lots of people came then to me and said, oh wow, I didn't know you had a talent for that, and it's really cool to see. And I think it was a great learning curve.
That's kind of neat to see that it was organic. Like I'm just curious, like when did you have the idea to do the project? Because it was you're the one who posted it, right? I mean, so you had this idea for a project and then it turned into something. Can you tell us a little bit about the idea? Like you had this idea and kind of what you thought it might be. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I think it was almost 2 years ago now, in 2016, and I know I've had many like different ideas before, but they come and go. You think about them for a bit to develop a little like small aspects, but I don't know, for some reason this one really stuck with me, and I started with the characters, and I really wanted to develop the character story. So it wasn't just me wanting to do something cool. It was about me telling the story of these characters, and I kind of fell in love with that. Mm-hmm. And I think that was an amazing like base to start with. And from there it went step by step. So we started like getting character modelers on and realized, that was going well. And then we started getting them textured and did like first previs tests, and realized like, wow, this could be something really cool. And from there on it just took off and got bigger and bigger.
Well, how did you then focus on the story? Because it sounded like you were more interested in the characters and the scenario. How did you decide to lock it down into a story, and what was the process that you took to kind of develop the story, the beginning, middle, and end, and what was that process like?
Yeah, I had a few, let's say, basic training in like story development from the concept artist perspective, and I think that was a good start for me. But then I got help from a Scottish writer, Ian Lawson, and I basically pitched my idea to him and what I wanted to achieve and what I wanted to tell with these characters. And he was a really big help in like getting all of that into a short script that could be like doable in a short amount of time and could get really like the story and characters across. And that was brilliant. and what he delivered, yeah, was simply amazing.
So was it the two of you guys working together, kind of back and forth, refining like a script? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I used to work with him before, and then yeah, I told him the story, and we went back and forth with him, like submitting ideas and me putting my input in and going, oh, but the character would maybe act more like this, and him coming back with like other cool, fun ideas how that could get like turned into a short little fun sequence.
What was it like making the leap then for yourself, knowing that this was just going to be this kind of fun project into being a full-fledged project that you were going to direct and take that leadership responsibility? Like, what kind of commitment did you make to yourself in order to kind of get the motivation to do it? Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, God. I think it was just not even halfway, but quite at the beginning when I started to realize that, oh my God, this was going to be something big. It wasn't just going to like drop away or disappear. We were already a small team at that point, and people were excited and motivated, and we got more and more people applying that wanted to help us. It's like, oh my God, this could be something really cool. And I think at that point I started realizing as well that it was my responsibility to make it happen, because I had this amazing idea and so many people that wanted to see it done, and that I felt like I owed it to them and the project to take it to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah, I kept saying as well to like lots of friends that the main reason I did it was, well, if I wasn't going to push it to the end, why would anybody follow me or believe in my vision if I wasn't determined enough? And I think that was a good thing to strive for.
No, that's amazing, because I see a lot of people starting projects, or a lot of people in general in life, they start things and they don't finish them. And I think there is that special moment where you make that commitment to yourself, and as you just said, it was bigger than just you. It was this responsibility you had with your team, which is amazing. Like you kind of have to own that. Like that's what it takes to get this done. Now, you had a full-time job, and I'm sure it was, the production wasn't without challenges of personal things going on. Like, how did you maintain your motivation throughout? Because for me, that's the biggest key in seeing a project go from concept through to a finished product, is maintaining a certain level of consistency. Like, how did that work for you?
Yeah, very true. I mean, it was hard at times because, I mean, as you know, all of the people we had on the team were volunteers, and they all had jobs, they all had lives and issues, as we said as well. So it happened many times that people said, oh, something come up, I can't work on this now, I can't work on this maybe next week. Some had to drop out, someone got pregnant, yay, that was great. But obviously it happens and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's something I learned really quickly, and just started to change my attitude a bit and went like, oh, well, hi, whatever happens, happens, and we're just going to deal with it. And the most important thing is that we're not giving up, that nothing is going to bring us down. And I think once I had this mindset, everything got a bit easier, because then I knew, well, even if we lose one of the most important like leads, well, somehow we're going to find someone to pick up. And it always worked out, and we always got new amazing talent on board, and yeah, we kept it going. It was great.
Now, I know that you jumped right on board when we first launched Artella. Actually, I had never met you before, and I saw this really cool concept art, and then I went to online to see your work, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. And so, I mean, we just kind of reached out like that, but I was just kind of curious, like how did Artella play a role in kicking off your project? How did you decide that you were going to do it there?
Yeah, at the beginning, I think it was a friend telling me about Artella, and I was already searching for something fun to do at that point, and was like super excited about the idea and what it could be. And at the beginning, to be honest, we mainly used it for getting people on board. So it was a recruitment tool for us, and it was absolutely amazing. We had so many applications for our project, and it went really well. But at some point, when we went deeper into like production and animation, we realized that Artella wasn't just for that, and how really beneficial it could be for the whole process. And we did a leap of faith, literally going in and saying, okay, let's try this. Let's see how good it's going to be. And we had a few hiccups at the start, but Artella was still in beta, so obviously a few things were still being developed. But after that, our Artella question channel went really quiet, and everybody just had settled in and was super happy. And we kept hearing everyone say, oh, this is amazing, this is really cool to use. And it was really good for the team to have the space and this place to exchange things. and it worked super well in the end, and everybody was super happy with it.
We chatted briefly before that you grew your team to about 80 members, right? 80 crew members. Yeah, that's amazing. Now, I mean, did you know most of them, or did you meet most of them through Artella or online? I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I think it started with closer friends. So we started like with a small team of people sculpting, creating the characters, and I think when we started going into animation and building the set, that's when we mainly had people from Artella coming in. And after I think we had 30, 40 people involved, it kind of just started like, the snowball effect, like, oh, can you ask a friend to come in? Or maybe a friend knows another one who can come in and help us. And in the end, I think it was always someone that knew someone that got a new person on board. And from there, it grew really fast. And it was also good because we usually got really like skilled, talented, and like amazing people on board.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed on productions that I've ran is that, yeah, at the end you have a big group of people that worked on the project, but it's not like 80 people were working on the project all the time. And so I always try to let people know, like, you can manage your production in stages, right? So in the beginning you're doing storyboarding, concept art, and maybe some modeling, and you've got a chunk of people. And then as those people start to roll off a little bit, maybe one or two of them stay on just for fixes and additional things, but then you move into rigging and animation testing, and then previs layout, and then full animation. The team kind of ramps up, and then they start to ramp off, and then you get into lighting and comp. So it's kind of managing a production naturally in stages. So I was kind of curious, even still, managing a production is a giant endeavor. So I was kind of curious, one, did you have a producer? Two, when did you bring a producer on? And any tips you have for managing that process? So there's a big questions there.
I think we completely did it wrong at the start as well. We just tried to get as many people on as possible. And then, as you said, realized that, oh, we might not need the compositing guys yet. And they were waiting around for half a year, got bored and left, which was obviously not going to work out. And I think once we learned that, we did it exactly like that. We always had people involved that were needed at the time. And when they were done, basically they moved out of the project and we had other people come in. So I think most of the time we had roughly 20, 30 people active. And that was a way better workflow overall. And for the producer, I had a very good friend who gave me good advice from the very beginning. So that was super helpful just to get started. And when he got a bit too busy at work, I managed a while without a producer, but I also realized how hard it is to direct and do the production work and talk to everyone every day. So I really thought, wow, it would be good to get that support back on. And I found Randy Mills, you know him as well, really capable, great guy on Artella, and he was super happy to join and help us. And he was an amazing support.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the role of the producer, like what that role is on a production, like being good?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak for what I have done and what Randy has done, or Nicholas as well, our first producer. It was a lot about communicating with the team, especially because they're all remote. It was really important to stay in contact. And there were so many language barriers and time zone difficulties we had. So it was really important to stay super close to everyone, make sure they were not blocked, they weren't waiting for something or misunderstood things. But then also, of course, having schedules, timelines, and just checking on people if they're happy, if they got everything they need, because obviously it's the fun thing for everyone. And if people get bored, they're not going to stay on your project.
Right. Now, I know that Randy is also an artist as well. I know he does a lot of awesome live action stuff and also in animation as well. So it's kind of neat because I've read and talked to several people who are artists who also do producing as well. And it's kind of neat just to, people that are listening to this, I think you nailed it in terms of what that role actually is for a production. It's really just, the tunnel that keeps all things flowing and questions answered and making, helping blocks get resolved and just kind of keeping that flow, because as a director you want to be able to focus on the creative vision and making sure that things are moving in the right direction. So there ultimately is a lot to hold as a director. So having that counterpart And it doesn't have to be someone who's formally trained in project management or even, producing. It can actually be an artist, because sometimes that's even more helpful, right? Because they understand what it's like to be an artist and all the things that get in our way, the everything. So no, that's pretty cool. You found a great one there with Randy, for sure.
Yeah, working with Randy was really good, and he always had a lot of input, and he also has a lot of experience, which can help. I think if you get like advice, especially on your first time directing something, if you have someone on board who can tell you how these things usually go, I think that can be very helpful. But as you said, the main thing is motivation and dedication. So even someone who's not as experienced could bring a lot to the project if they just really invested into it.
Now, did the production take longer than you thought, or did you stay on target?
I think we definitely took longer, because at the beginning I had no idea at all how long this was going to take. I expected it to be like a half-year project and be done with it, have something really cool, which obviously didn't work out. And I had a chat with my producer friend Nick at the very beginning and told him like, I want to do a short film, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And he was like, no, you don't want to do 10, 15 minutes. Go for 2 or 3. And it was really good getting that advice, because I think overall it took us 2 years to get to where we are now. And I would not have thought that at the beginning.
Right. But, now, being good, the finished piece is how long?
We are, with credits, I think at 4.5 minutes.
Yeah. It was a little longer than you originally thought as well, right? It tends to kind of...
It got longer and longer.
Yeah. So do you have any tips for keeping projects on schedule? Like, because you've learned how to do that. Ultimately, you think it took a really long time, but 4.5 minutes is incredible to have gotten done as an independent project with artists working, on a volunteer basis, and you having a full-time day job. Like, that's incredible. So I was wondering, do you have any tips for keeping a project that big on schedule?
Yeah, I think what really helps is a common goal, or like a deadline for everyone that is quite exciting. As for us, that was CTN. So we always said, we want to be done for CTN. And I think for everyone, having that on their mind and seeing like, this is really cool for me as a person, for my reel, for the team as an achievement. I think everybody was super excited about that. And I think that was really good. And also we learned during the process that there were times where I just gave people some slack and said, let's just wait and see if things get done. But I think they don't, especially like in a remote collaboration like this. I think it's important to always be like talking to people and checking in and like making sure they're still on it, because, deadlines can really help, and they also help motivate people and give them like things to aim for and plan into their normal daily lives.
Well, you did meet that goal, right? I mean, you guys, you finished and you premiered it at the CTN this year, or in 2017, I guess, just this past year. What was that like for you, seeing your film screened in front of a big audience? Like, what did that feel like?
That was incredible. It was very surreal. We were so excited. Like, I don't know, we're just so happy, and we were all there together. I think 12 people from our team came to Los Angeles, and we're all there, and it felt really cool because we also met for the first time, and we really felt that we had achieved something amazing together. And I don't know, it was super mind-blowing.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah, the connection, even though you guys didn't work in the same room, but you still had that incredible connection. I saw some pictures of you guys hanging out, which looked like a lot of fun.
It was like I talked to these people more than my mom from time to time. It was like every day, and it really makes it feel like you are together in this, and that was really special.
Yeah. Well, while you were in LA, you got to pitch your project to Netflix, right?
We got the pitch, yes, but we pitched online, so I didn't go in. It was a Skype call, but yes.
Got it. I remember when you found out, you were like, oh my God. So I know a lot of our listeners will want to know how you went about getting a studio meeting. Are there any tips that you can share? I'm sure some of it you can't share, but anything you can share, I think people would love to hear.
I guess in a way, obviously we were lucky. We had something cool to show, and what was really good that the contact we got was a friend of a friend. And I think that's the main advice I would give to anyone in the industry. do your networking, be connected, talk to people, and just be part of this community, because you never know when you can help someone or when someone can help you with something. And in that case, it was just a friend saying like, oh, I know someone at Netflix, and why don't I put you in contact with him? And I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds nice.
That's cool. So how did that meeting go for you? What specifically did you pitch? Did you show the whole film, and then did you send the film in advance? Did you show boards or concept art? Just kind of curious about what that pitch went like, because I know, again, myself and others included are curious like what that was like.
Yeah, it was quite interesting, because we used to pitch a lot at the studio here, but in a game studio, obviously. So I felt like I'd gathered a bunch of experience there. But it was the first time for me pitching as an individual. So I also got lots of advice from friends, producers that have done this before, and that was really helpful. And in the end, I sent over a PowerPoint pitch document and the film. And I think for them, having that in advance was quite good, because they could look over it and get a read of the story. And I kept it very visual and narrative driven. So it was really like something exciting to read, not like a boring one-page document where you barely want to open it because it's a block of text.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So they got that stuff in advance, and then when you met with them, you pretty much went over the deck and then talked and answered their questions and stuff as you guys went through.
Yeah, I kind of expected it to be me pitching the whole idea and going through the document, but yeah, surprisingly it was a lot of them, oh yeah, we've seen the document, and then jumping around like, oh, let's go to page 12, or back to page 1, back to page 26, and they just had lots of questions. But once I got into it, like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. And they gave really cool input and ideas, also how the project could be better and what we could improve narrative-wise. And I also mentioned that during the call, like, this is very helpful. And yeah, it would be cool to develop this further together. And I think that was quite well received as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you feel like you had everything? Would you do it differently? Or would you like, oh man, I wish I would have known this or had this piece? Or do you feel like, no, it actually went pretty good? I'm curious.
I think I was quite happy, but I generally don't regret things I do, because in the end I always feel like even if something goes wrong, it's a learning curve. And I feel like I did the best I could. It was really cool. We had a good conversation, and in the end I think the call ended and I had a really good feeling about it.
So now I know that you've been pitching to other places and stuff as well, which we don't have to name, but so I mean, it's exciting to know that you're on a mission now, like getting your work out there. And I'm curious that even though you finished it and premiered it at CTN, I know you're still doing some stuff behind the scenes to kind of polish it off a little bit more. Can you tell us about that? Because it's all the artists and all of us that's never happy or never fully finished, but I'm just kind of curious, like what things are you doing with it now?
Yeah, I think we're trying to get a polished pass done. So basically the film is done, but we knew there were a few issues and hiccups we couldn't fix in time for CTN. And we really wanted to take the next 2 months to get rid of those and really get into like a final pass where we're all happy and we don't have to point at a shot and go, oh my God, her foot is floating or her hair is flickering. And we can all feel good about it and put in our reels and be happy. So I think getting that done will be nice.
If people are, our listeners are developing their projects, their intellectual property or IP, to be able to pitch out to studios and stuff. So are there things that you've been learning now that you would pass on to first-time people that haven't done that or don't have the experience pitching like you did in your studio and your day job? Like, are there things that people might be able to do to get prepared for that?
Yeah, I think it's really important if you know someone, you can find out somehow what a pitch looks like or what kind of like vital information has to be in there. I think that's a really good start, because I talked to friends and I really got all the input that I was looking for that helped me shape the document and put everything in. Also getting estimates, because when people ask, so how much do you estimate money-wise for this? I wouldn't have had a clue if I hadn't talked to friends beforehand and getting like rough numbers, because you don't want to look like someone who doesn't have any idea of what it's worth you're talking about. So yeah, I think this kind of preparation is really beneficial and really gets you into a spot where you don't look like an amateur. And even though it's your first time doing this, which it is for me.
So generally, No, that's good. I mean, a lot of it's like fake it till you make it, and it's so true. Just seeming confident if you don't have the information, just knowing that you can get access to it in some way. So
Yeah.
so I remember budget wise, that's a big one, and so a lot of the studios are looking at developing 13 to 26 episodes of
Mhm.
an animated series, in this case, for instance, like with Troll Hunters, or other type of animated shows on Netflix or Amazon. And so, you know how did you go about, like you said, you didn't know the budgets for that. I'm not asking for numbers or anything like that, but just curious, like, what was your process for finding that information?
Yeah, I asked my producer friends basically what pitches they have done prior, like in the last years, and just compared the structure of the documents, the numbers they had, and then yeah, did estimates based on what kind of render quality, animation quality, and length of the TV show I was going to achieve for it. And yeah, basically finding a middle ground where you say, okay, this is something I want, this might be too high or too low for what I'm looking for, and just yeah, finding something, but also through conversations with other studios. And I think you get to a point where they say, oh, this is what we think, and it's really helpful to get their input as well. And at some point, I think you just get the numbers down and say, okay, this is probably a good middle way of what I was looking at and what I expected and what it really is.
Hmm. And did you break that down per episode or for the whole thing? I know people in some cases break it down for as like X per episode, so they
Mm.
kind of have that. Like, how did you guys break it down?
Yeah, we looked at both. So I think in the end I had an overall estimate, like rough numbers as well. So I wouldn't specifically say, oh, this is the exact number.
Yeah,
And I would go for estimates per episode as well, I think, which is good because it can define the quality you're aiming for per episode.
I know there's so much that goes into it, right? It's crazy.
Yeah.
And as artists, right, we're thinking about the color and the staging and this, the emotions reading clearly, and then there's like all this other stuff that's like, oh yeah, there's the business part of this stuff. There's money to be made here. I forgot about that, and like people want to make money from this, and this is how it works, right? And so it's kind of neat as an artist, like kind of stepping into to the business side of it. What does that feel like for you? And I mean, you seem to just be doing it naturally. And it's great to see. So I'm just kind of curious if how does that feel to you? Like, how is it transitioning to that side? What does it feel like for you?
Well, I've always liked this side, but I have to be honest that I got a business degree.
Mm-hmm.
So I came from business management, and that was my bachelor, and then I went to art afterwards. And I think something just stuck with me. I always liked the production, the management part of just starting a project, guiding a project. And I think lots of artists could do well learning that as well at university, because I think lots of artists come out of courses and they've never learned about how to promote yourself, how to see the whole business side of things as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be something really cool to get like more podcasts about as well, or workshops, and it could be really helpful.
Yeah, I just heard about a conference that it happened in Portugal last year called Trojan Horse is a Unicorn.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm excited. Like, I want to learn more about it, but it seems like it's more on that aspect of teaching artists how to be more business savvy, because you're
yeah,
right. I think we tend to undersell ourselves, and it's great that, hear that you had this background in business. Like, oh my gosh, that's got to be like amazing. And it's cool to hear you say, yeah, artists could benefit from that and being able to provide more of that information, because ultimately, whether we like it or not, we do have to sell ourselves and our work, on social
yeah,
media. And how do we stand out in this really loud world where Instagram, Twitter, Facebook all day long, lots of stuff flying by. It's hard to really stand out. So it's just one, like you said, being a genuine person and helping people out and making connections and knowing that you might be able to help out other people. I really liked how you said that it's not about taking everything. It's about giving whatever you can, and then sometimes like it just kind of works out where the universe will, return that favor.
yeah. I think it's important to find that balance, as you said as well. Yes, we are in a business, we are in the entertainment industry, but a lot of us are also friends. We're quite close to each other, and you want to help, you want to give something back to the community. And I think if you manage to find a balance of these two things, I think that can be really good for you as a person and your career. And I think it's really going to get you far in what you're doing.
Yeah. So as you go forward with Being Good, like what's next for Being Good and your dream of dreams? What would you like to see happen with it?
So ideally, I think where we're going right now is to have it adapted into a TV show. As you said, the typical 26 episodes. And yeah, right now we're still aiming for really high quality. Let's see how far we can get with that when the money comes back in. But yeah, it would be really cool to find a great studio or production company to take this further and get it developed into something bigger.
Yeah, and your role in that is ideally director, yeah?
I think I would definitely want to stay involved.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been advised by friends that there's several options of like, hey, take the money, sell your thing, but I don't think that's what I want after like 3 years of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I also feel I owe it to the team and everyone who put the effort in to really push this as far as I can and make it something beautiful that everyone can be proud of.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to pass on to the listeners before we wrap up?
Stay awesome, do cool projects, and never let anyone tell you what you can and can't do, because you can do whatever you want.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jenny. You're the best. Thanks for being on today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.